There'll be others.
Okay, so this week is hold on a second. We have Joel here. Hold on. Let me just record. How you doing, Joel?
Hey, Baruch Hashem, Rabbi, how are you?
Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. Okay, so we are in Parshas. We are in the Parsha of Shoftim, and we're also in the Reb Shimon's here. We're in the Parsha of Shoftim, and we're also in the first week of Elul, because Elul was this week is Rosh Chodesh, was Tuesday, Wednesday, and so last week was Shabbos, the blessing of the month of Elul, and today we're finishing off I see from Pinchas's background, it's still light in Seattle. We're finishing off the first day of the month of Elul, the Aleph Elul. So I want to bring a few things. I want to mention a few things about the Parsha. We've spoke about this Parsha many times. So the beginning of the Parsha is Shoftim Shotrim Titun B'chol Sharecha. The idea is the laws of setting up a judicial system that is going to, so to say, monitor seemingly the system that monitors and runs the country, that the Eretz Yisrael should be a country that's running according to law, that's a Torah law. And you need to have both shoftim, you have to have both judges, and you have to have shotrim, you have to have the enforcers, because if the judges don't have the enforcers, so their judgment could just be judgment that the people are not going to listen to, they're not going to accept. At the same time, the shotrim's job is to they're just there. They're not there to give suggestions of what the law has to be. The law is decided by the judges. They're just there to enforce it. The Rebbe addresses this point by asking that if the name of the parsha is going to be Shoftim, judges, so if we're already mentioning judges, people should call the parsha Shoftim V'Shotrim. That's the name people should refer to the parsha, because you need both judges and enforcers, and the police, or the power of enforcement that enforces the law. So from this, the Rebbe concludes that the real necessity over here is the judges. The enforcers are, so to say, just a help or an enforcement of the laws of the judges. And the reason the Rebbe brings this up is not just to be complicated and technical, but to explain to us what does it mean when Mashiach comes. We say that we're going to return the judges as they were before, and your advisors as was in the beginning. But it doesn't mention anything about the enforcers, because when Mashiach comes, the Jewish people are not going to need enforcement. All they're going to need is guidance. Once we're guided by the judges what we have to do, so we're going to do it, because there's going to be no more Yetzer Hara. There's a Ruach HaTumah Avram Arts. There's going to be no more. It's going to be no longer the need of. There's going to be no longer evil or distractful forces, and therefore, once we know what it is that we have to do, Dr. Henkin, once we know what it is that we have to do, we're going to do it. So that's why when a Mashiach comes, it doesn't mention about the enforcers. It only mentions about the shoftim, but it adds to the yotzayach, the advisors. And before we go into the other points of the parsha, the Rebbe talked in 1991, which is the final farbrengen we have of the Rebbe's of Parshas Shoftim. That the Rebbe said that what's the difference between a shofet, a judge, and a yotzayach, a yoyetz. Yoyetz is a person that gives eitzos, it gives advice. So if anyone who's following Israeli politics will know that there's the Supreme Court, and there's the Yoetz Mishpati, the advisor to the government. Nowadays, it's hard to understand the difference between the two. But once upon a time, the idea of the Yoetz was to be a friendly advisor to the people of how a person's supposed to go about things. Because when a judge gives judgment, by definition, a judge should have a certain disconnect from the people, like a king, right? And we learn about a king this week's parsha. One of the ideas of a king is a king has to be meroimim. He has to be elevated from the people. That's part of being a king, is that the king has certain laws. The king can't be casual too casual with the people, because too familiar with the people. Is the king has to have a certain distance. It has to have a certain roimimus. It has to create a certain awe and pachad and fear, not just fear of punishment, but this is the king. If the king's gonna work behind the counter in Starbucks, it's kind of not. It's going to defeat the purpose of what the king's message is as a leader. And similar to that is the judges. A judge comes from a higher point, says this is the law, this is the rule, and there's a certain roimimus, there's a certain disconnect, not emotionally, not in feelings, but in how the person communicates. They're coming from a higher place. A yoyitz is a person that's closer to you, more. You listen. When do you go to a person for advice? It's because you trust that person, and that you trust, hopefully, that person has your best interest. Again, obviously, not current situation not included, but I'm saying in general, the idea of a yoyetz is the idea of an advisor, is that the reason you're going to this person for advice, the reason you're accepting the advice of this person is because the feeling of this person's mamish best interest for you and the person's closeness to you, and you could relate to the person, you could have a full conversation with the person. So when it comes to times of Mashiach, the Rebbe says there's not going to be the need for the enforcers, but there's still going to be the need of the yoyetz. The yoyetz is the advisory, the person who's going to help you, help you move in the direction that you need to be moving, and help advise you and comfort you and find your specific space in the way that helps you move forward. So there's a concept of a yoyetz and a judge. And that's why Mashiach comes, it says, it's going to be, there's still going to be that friendly, the Rebbe spoke many times about the days of Mashiach, that the days of Mashiach, there's a little bit of that, in case there's such a concept of a fear that people may have, that, what's the, when Mashiach comes, it seems to be very overwhelming. There's going to be Mashiach and the resurrection of the dead and the building of the temple. I'm a simple person. I'm a humble person that likes to daven in a small shul with a small community with a nice little kiddush, and all of a sudden there's going to be this whole huge. I'm going to feel overwhelmed. Some people, the Rebbe spoke about this, that people are going to feel possibly overwhelmed by the concept of Mashiach. It's overwhelming, right? You read about the prophecies of Mashiach and the Rambam. It's an overwhelming experience. Some people may say that's scary for me. I'm not a person. Some people like overwhelming. Some people like big splashes. Some people, for them, that's too much. When Mashiach is going to come, it's going to be, where am I going to find my place, and who am I going to hang out with, and is my rabbi going to still be available to me, right? So there's sometimes it's a little, it can create a feeling of anxiety, and so therefore the prophecy says that there's going to be Yitzhak. There's going to be that. It's not just going to be coming from above. It's not just going to be this overwhelming experience. You can have someone that's going to have advisors, that's someone close to you, someone that you could talk to, someone who understands your sensitivities, and someone who knows what it is that you need, and help you get through help you elevate and take into the best experience that you can, the experience of Mashiach. So first of all, we should be speeding that time, and it should be not just that we have advisors, but the advisors should be about tchila in a positive way. They advise positive things, and the shaftayach is kivar rishona. The judges should be back the way they once were. It says Mashiach comes. It's brought down. The Rambam says that there's a Kabbalah. There's a tradition that when Mashiach comes, the Sanhedrin is going to be set up in the Galil, going to be set up in Tiberia. So, Tveria now and the Galil now, the north and Eretz Yisrael needs a lot of support. It'd be fantastic taka now for Mashiach to reveal himself, and the judges to set themselves up in the north, bring back judgment and bring back law and order to the people in the north, that they could live safely in their borders, in the borders of Eretz Yisrael. L'chaim, l'chaim. So I want to share something very interesting that I heard from the Rebbe yesterday. I say interesting because it is very interesting, because you'll see in a second point. The Rebbe in the Rebbe 1980, the end of Tafshin Mem, meaning to say after Rosh Chodesh Elul on today, meaning to say the first day of Elul, the Rebbe went down to Farbrengen. In the middle of the Farbrengen, the Rebbe quoted a very interesting idea. I just want to bring up the actual text. Hold on. The Rebbe quoted that he says, I'm going to get back into the Parsha together with Elul in a second. is the Rebbe says, where do we see in Scripture in the Torah the idea of Rosh Chodesh Elul? It means if anyone would open up any part of the section of the holidays, right, that we talk about. So we talk about Rosh Hashanah, we talk about Sukkot, we talk about Yom Kippur, we talk about Pesach, right? There's Esther min Torah minayin. The Gemara says, how do we know that there's Esther in the Torah? So they say that the Anochi Haster Aster. We're going to soon learn in a few weeks the parsha that says that in Nitzavim that there's going to be a day, or Vayelech, I forget, there's going to be a day that there's going to be the double hiding, like the Baal Shem Tov says, that people are going to think it's light when it's really dark. So that's the idea of Esther. Esther means the concealment of the time of Purim. We know that the Ramban says that when it comes to the lights of the menorah, we talk about it, the balos chasanoras, when Hashem promises Aaron that your menorah is going to be forever. So it's connected to the idea of balos chasanoras, and we have many verses that the Chachamim and that bring down about Elul. That Ani Ladodi Vidodi Li. There's all kind of verses that we use and hints in the Torah, the idea of Arya Yishag Mila Yira, when the lion roars, who's not fearful? That's talking about Elul. There's many verses that we know that's talking about Elul. But where do we see actually the idea of Elul in the Torah? Not just the verses that tells us about it. So it's an amazing thing. The Rebbe quotes a prophecy from the prophet Haggai. Haggai was one of the later prophets that prophesied about the rebuilding of the second temple. So we have Haggai, Malachi, and Zechariah, right? Those are the final prophets. So the opening of the prophet Haggai says like this, that B'shnas Shtaim l'Daryavish HaMelech b'chodesh Hashishi, that in the second year of the rule of the king Daryavish was, according to some people, the son of Esther, and b'chodesh Hashishi in the 6th month. Now, according to Jewish calendar, the 6th month, we start from Nisan. So Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz, Av is the 5th month, right? And Chodesh Hashishi is Elul. So he says, Haggai, the prophet says, that in the 2nd year of the rule of Daryavish, Chodesh Hashishi in the 6th month, which means Elul, V'yom Echad LaChodesh, on the 1st day of the month, which is Rosh Chodesh Elul. It's Harya Devar Hashem Biyad Haggai Navi, that God spoke to Haggai, the prophet, to give over to Zerubbabel, which was from the first, the Jewish people came in different waves. Teretz Yisrael, they came back from Bavel. So the final building of the Beis Hamikdash and gathering the Jewish people was done by Ezra and Nehemiah, and that was done a little later. But the Zerubbabel went first. He went in the times of Koresh. Zerubbabel was from the royal family. He was a descendant, either a son or a grandson or great grandson, from Yechani HaMelech, from the third to final king that was taken captive by Nebuchadnezzar before the destruction of the temple. Then he put Yehoiakim and then Tzidkiyahu. So 26 years before, not 26 years before, but 12 years before the destruction of the temple, I believe, is when Yechani was taken in. That's Mordechai. A lot of the main players of the royal court went to exile before the main exile, which happened with the destruction of the temple. So Zerubbabel was the leader of the Jewish people, but things were they got back to Eretz Yisrael. It wasn't what they expected it to be. There was a lot of enemies. There was the people from the Shomronim that lived there, the people that were, they thought they were Jews, they weren't Jews. And so God says to Haggai like this, on the 1st day of the month of Elul, which is today. This is what God, the Lord of hosts, says. And his message is to Zerubbabel, to the leader of the Jewish people in Eretz Yisrael. He says, are the people saying, the God's asking in a question mark, that's not the time to build the house of God? Question mark. God's saying, how are people even saying that's not time to build the house of God? And therefore, God tells Haggai not just to say the prophecy that why aren't you building the house of Hashem? He says like this. God told to Haggai that you're sitting in your own houses and on my house is destroyed. So therefore, God says that He says, Hashem, so said God, Alu hahara, go up on the mountain and bring trees, uvano bayis, and build a house. And then Hashem continues in the prophecy, and He says that when he said over the prophecy, And then again, it says, V'yomer chagei malach Hashem b'malachus Hashem le'olam le'mar. Like the God said to Chagai to say over again to the people through the angel, Ani itchem nu'um Hashem. I'm with you. So says the Lord. So the prophecy of Chagai was to the Jewish people on the first month, on the first day of the month of Elul, was, why aren't you building the house of Hashem? What's going on? And go on, don't just talk about it. Go to the mountain, start gathering wood, and why are you not building the house of Hashem? And if you're scared, itchem ani itchem nu'um Hashem, I'm with you. It's very interesting in the Farbrengen. The Rebbe quoted every single verse differently. The Rebbe quoted the verse, Ani itchem ani beis Yisrael. That God, it seems like the Rebbe was kind of retelling over the prophecy. That itchem ani beis Yisrael, that I'm with you, and go up to the mountain, take from the Rebbe says an olive tree. It doesn't say olive tree. And but the Rebbe says, of course, we can't build the Beis HaMikdash today. We have to wait for Mashiach to come to show us exactly where the Beis HaMikdash has to be built. But the idea that a person just sits in Golus and says, Lo Ye'es, now is not the time to build the house of the Lord. We're just going to sit here and wait, like Zerubbabel was sitting there. Zerubbabel means he's in Bavel. He's planted in Bavel. But we're just sitting there. Go up to the mountain and do something. And the Rebbe says, don't go up to the mountain and shout, I'm in Golus. Go up to the mountain because you get out of your Golus. Means when it comes to, when did God say this prophecy to Chagai? God said the prophecy to Chagai on Rosh Chodesh on the first of Elul. Go up on the mountain and do something about it. Say, I'm a free man. Say that why is the house of the Lord destroyed? Why are you comfortable with what's going on? You can't build a temple now. Build your own temple. Get out of your own gullus. Get out of your own exile. And if you're scared and you look around and you say, the world's going to laugh at me. You want me to walk around and be a proud Jew? You want me to go up on the mountain and start saying, I'm building my own temple? My house is no longer going to be destroyed. Like we say, Shifti b'veis Hashem kol yimei chaye. We say in El, I want to sit in the house of the Lord. I'm not going to sit like this anymore. I'm not going to settle for anymore that the house of the Lord is destroyed and I just move on in life. What did God say to Chagai? You're sitting in your homes and the house of the Lord is sitting destroyed. What are you doing about building your own Beis HaMikdash, your inner Beis HaMikdash? What are you doing about getting out of your golus? And if you're scared, Hashem says, Itchem ani beis Yisrael. I'm with you. I'm going to go up on the mountain with you. But you have to get off your chair and step on your feet and climb the mountain. And when is this prophecy in the first of Elul? So it's an amazing thing. It's an amazing Farbrengen. There was talking 50 minutes about this, and that we say king is in the field. And the Rebbe speaks many times. The month of Elul's king is in the field. And the king in the field is that there's the king is that, even though, like we said before, that a shofet and a king has to be distant and sort of say from stand over the people. The king, once a year, our king, the Lord, our Eibishter, goes out to the field and makes himself accessible, gets out of his royal garments, doesn't overwhelm us, smiles at us like the Alter Rebbe says in the example, encourages us. Everyone could go to the king. It doesn't make a difference where you are presently. If you're a person that's in the city, if you're a person that's in the field, even if you're a person that's in the desert, even if you're a person that's been, like it says that in Parsha Class that Esav Isha Sada, Esav, the man of the field, takes captive of the young girl, and she's screaming out because no one's there to help her. V'ay Mashiach. And like it says in Chassidus, V'ayin Meshila, that the only way she could find salvation is from Ayin, from the nothingness of Hashem. Even if you're a person that's so lost that you don't even know the directions. But someone tells you, go north, go south, go east, whatever direction, the opposite of where you're heading. And over there is going to be a field. And in that field, you're going to find not just the Esav, but you're going to find Hashem. And Hashem, anything you want, you could say to Hashem. He's accessible, he's listening, he's not judging. But you have to, like Hashem told Chagai, you have to climb the mountain. You got to get up and do it. It's not enough to know that the king is in the field. You must go to the field and meet it. That's the avoda. At the end of the day, is the avoda of Elul is avoda means what do we have to do? Elul is not just a time. Elul is a time of opportunity. And the opportunity is to meet the king. But you have to do it. Climb the mountain. And here we say, Chagai, what did Chagai say? What did Hashem say to Chagai? Climb the mountain, gather wood. Start gathering means a person looks around and says, what am I doing? You want me to start building the temple? That's not possible. You want me to start even building my own temple? My temple, the fire's still burning in the destruction of my temple. God forbid. So Hashem says, climb the mountain, start gathering wood. You're starting to build. You're starting to build your temple. You're going to put out the fire. And you're going to and itchem ani beis Yisrael. God says, and if you don't think you have the strength, you have to know I'm with you. I'm going to be there. I'm going to help you. You need strength to pick up the wood. You need strength to make something, to create something. I'm there, but you need to climb the mountain. You need to go out to the field. You need to meet the king. And that's it's a beautiful message because we know that nothing's by chance. Like the Rebbe says in that talk, that even though the prophecy that Chagai says is a prophecy seemingly connected to the second temple, and the person says, what does it have to do with me? But if the rule of the Gemara says that if there's that there was many prophecies, not every time God spoke to the prophet, and not every time the prophet spoke to the people, is that recorded. What the prophecies that are recorded, the Gemara tells us, are the prophecies that are needed for that are not time sensitive. That means that when there's a prophecy that's for all times, the message is for all times, and it's recorded part of the Torah Nevi'im Ksuvim, part of the Nevi'im, part of the Treyaseh, part of the prophet that's recording it. And therefore, if the message of Chagai on the first of El, even if it was thousands of years ago, is present today, and it's not just present, and the very fact that the prophet tells us the date, the exact date of the prophecy, means that date is important for us to know. And how we have to know that the first day of El, when we start blowing the shofar, we say Melech Vasada, start saying the 3 chapters of Tehillim. We start to say LeDavid Hashem Oiri. We start to make ready into the Rosh Chodesh, making our Cheshbon, our Nefesh, our evaluation on the past year and our resolutions for the next year. Right away, we open up the Navians, we open up the Torah and say, where can we find inspiration? What are we supposed to be doing in El? We open up Chagai. And Chagai says that God spoke to him on the first day of Elul and said, Alei Ahar, go up on the mountain, start preparing to build your temple. Gather wood, don't just stand there. Get out of your gullus, get out of your exile. And one of the ways to do that is the idea of Shoftim V'Shotrim. Shoftim V'Shotrim, we spoke many times, it's brought down, and that the Shoftim and the Shotrim of a person, the judges and the enforcers of a person, is yourself. And it says, where do you put the judges and where do you put the enforcers? By your sha'ar and by your gates, by your places of vulnerability, the places that you communicate with people, what you look, what you say, watching your mouth, say the nice things. The month of El is a time of judgment. It's a good time to ask yourself, how have I communicated this past year? Have I been communicating positively? Have I been communicating nicely? Have I been effective in my communication? Right? Are people listening to what I have to say? Because if I'm not, it says the Rebbe always says, if you're not being effective, then you have to ask yourself, are you communicating properly? And what are you looking at? Not just what you're looking at, that you shouldn't look at things that are not healthy for you to look at, but also when you look at something, vision is we say that Ein Eid Nasadayim, we spoke about this many times, that a witness can't be a judge, because when you see something, it's certainty. So what is certain to you? Ask yourself, what are the things that are certain to you? What are you building your foundation of your, people, everyone has, like, I'm certain about certain things. This is the foundation of my beliefs of life. What are those certainties you have? Are you looking at the right things? Are you creating the right foundations in your life? What are you listening to? These are all gates. These are the shoftim and shoftim. And when you start when it comes it's very appropriate, mamish, because to have the month of El and even smell, the power of smell, the bracha of smell, the smell awakens the neshama. What are the things that what are the morich v'dayin? It says Mashiach comes, it's going to be the power of smell is going to be revealed. What are the things that touch the core of your soul? That's the power of smell. What are the things that matter to you? What kind, what, and it's not enough to have a resolution. You have to have judges that define what are these things? What are the things you should be talking about? What are the things how you should be taking in information? How you listening to things? The difference between listening and hearing, listening and seeing is there's a plus in each one of them. A person may say, for instance, you could watch an event or you could hear about an event. What does it mean to hear about an event? Someone told you about the event, right? If someone comes back and says, listen, I want to describe to you what I just saw. So the reason why a judge cannot be a witness is because there's an added value to listening to something. Because you didn't see it, and because the only way for you to process the information is by hearing every detail and understanding every detail to be able to piece the pieces together, right? Joel, you're an artist, so you understand how art, when you put a piece of art together and you put something together, so all the components of it. If you're seeing it, so you just have like this is the vision, but if you have to piece it together through listening, the added value of that over seeing it is that every piece of the information has to be analyzed. When you see something you don't appreciate necessarily, although you have you see it, but you don't appreciate every detail because you just saw it. So you don't need to focus on every single detail. But if you listen to something, if you don't understand one detail, then you're missing that piece. And so therefore, when it comes to what we're listening to and what we're looking at, so the certainties and what we're explaining is the difference between Chachma, Bina, all these things you have to, so there comes we put the judges by us and tell us what are the things that are supposed to be important to us, what inspires us, what are we looking to do, what kind of, when we climb the mountain, what are we gathering? Why was our temple destroyed? What defines our gullus? Our inner gullus, our personal gullus, our own situation. This is all very much connected with the month of El. So to have a shofet is having a conversation. And the Rebbe adds in 1991, via Itzayach. You have your advisor, personal voice inside you that is giving you that knows you and knows your situation, not just saying the rules, but knows how those rules apply to you and where you need to have strength and where you're strong and where there's places you need extra strength and where you have to have clarity. And then you're climbing the mountain, then you're building your temple. You're cleaning up the destruction. And this starts on Rosh Chodesh El. And that's why we have a lot of mitzvahs in this week's parsha that are very much connected. We have the laws of Ori Miklat. We have the laws of city of refuge. That the Rebbe talks many times. The city of refuge. One of the verses that alludes to the month of El is about the laws of city of refuge. That the month of El is a city of refuge. It's a safe place. The month of El is our safe place, where we could unload our luggage. I was once listening to a talk from Rabbi Steinsaltz. He's talking over a story of the Gemara. He says that he told over the story of the famous story that we all know of, connected to Lag BaOmer, of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. That how did Reb Shimon Bar Yochai end up in the cave in the first place? Why did he live 12, 13 years in the cave? I say 12, 13 because he only had to live 12 years. The 13th year was kind of, God said, you're too intense. You need to wind down a bit. You can't come out of the cave 12 years in the cave with Eliezer, his son, and he was ready to conquer the world. And God said, I like your energy, but you got to calm down a bit. The world's not ready for that energy. So the 12th month kind of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai needed to wind down a bit. And obviously in a higher level, the higher you go, the more you could be understanding. It says the Baal Shem Tov prayed that how high he goes, he should be able to listen to people while they're down here. So why did Reb Shimon Bar Yochai technically end up in the cave in the first place? Is because he had a conversation where he felt that he could have an honest conversation about Rome. Right? Today you're not allowed to say anything. Once upon a time, so even once upon a time under Roman rule, if you wanted to say a fact, you had to make sure you're in a safe space, right? Today you could say something else. So you say that weapons of mass destruction and murders coming through a breached border that's not being monitored, that has trucks going under the ground. And if you say it, you say, "How dare you accuse us of not protecting the border?" It's like you're not allowed to. It could be a fact, but you're not allowed to say it. So here we have. We have Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. He wants to talk about what's going on in Rome. How are the Roman people treating the Jewish people? So he says his feelings. He says, he doesn't trust the Romans. They have an agenda, right? They have an agenda. That sounds familiar. And there's someone listening to the conversation. They're listening to the conversation, and it gets reported back to Rome. And the next thing he knows, well, how dare you say that, right? Even if it's true, that's not, don't confuse me with the facts. So it's true. You're not allowed to say it. So Rav Shimon Yochai has to run. They want to kill him. So he has to run into the sun, and he hides for 12 years in a cave until the enforcers of that rule is no longer around. Elijah the prophet says you could get out of your cave. So he's there for 12 years. So what happened? He thought he was in a safe place. He was in the base medrash, having a conversation with his colleagues, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi. A person on the side who was sitting there, who reported his conversation. I once was sitting with some people. My friend sent me a group of people from California that we wanted to have a Shabbos meal. I said, so we told over the story, and I said that that tonight our meal is going to be a safe place. Anyone, as long as you don't talk inappropriate talk, but anyone can say whatever they feel. It's not. No one's gonna call you on it. No one's gonna judge you for it. So that's what the month of Elul is. The month of Elul is that the person say, the king's in the field. And all of a sudden, I'm scared. I'm going to have a conversation with the king. I'm going to tell him everything I did, everything I was thinking. I'm going to tell him my fears, right? I'm going to tell him my hopes. And then the king's going to turn around, look at me and say, who are you? What kind of person are you? No, that's not El. El is a safe place. El is a city of refuge. No matter what, even a person who's killed intentionally initially goes to the city of refuge. Everyone goes to the city of refuge. One of the verses that we have, it's an amazing thing. One of the verses that we have, that the Rambam quotes as proof about the days of Mashiach, is from this week's Parsha. This week's Parsha talks about something that never happened yet. Talks about when God is going to expand the borders of Eretz Yisrael to the Knizi, Kadmoni, and what's the third one? And God is going to expand the borders of Eretz Yisrael. Something to lands that we've never yet had. So what's going to happen then? So the pasuk tells us, so then we're going to add 3 more cities of refuge. Are we holding Hamishi? Forget the third name. Can't remember the third name of the. But there's going to be a time when we take the last 3 countries, Eretz Yisrael. It's no longer going to be the country of 7. It's going to be the country of 10 nations. But then what's going to happen? We're going to have to add a city of refuge. The Rebbe talks about even a city of refuge. A city of refuge is for people that murder, even if it's unintentionally, but it's connected to murder. What's going to be? Why do we need a city of refuge when Mashiach comes? When Mashiach comes, you would think they're going to add to the Beis Medrash, right? When Mashiach comes, we're going to expand the Beis Medrash. We're going to make a bigger mikveh. We're going to make a larger wedding hall place. All of a sudden, you say, what's going to happen when Mashiach comes? We're going to expand the cities of refuge. Because a person needs cities of refuge. Cities of refuge is a safe place for a person to go. Right? Like we said before, you need the Yitzayich, you need the advisors. It can be overwhelming. But that's the month of El. The month of El is a safe place for everyone, a safe place for us to go to and for us to experience that we could talk to Hashem. He's listening, he's smiling to us, he's encouraging us. But like the Rebbe says, Alei Alahar, go on the mountain. You must climb the mountain. You must go up and start building your temple. You must go up, and the Rebbe says, to announce to the world, I'm a free person. That no longer is my city, is my house, the house of the Lord. Shifti b'veis Hashem, kol yimei chayei. I'm going to sit in the house of the Lord. It's my house is not destroyed anymore. The house of the Lord is not destroyed anymore. I'm building my Beis Hamikdash. I'm gathering the Eitz Hazayis. I'm gathering the wood. And if I don't know if I have the strength, I know that the Hashem says, Itchem ani Beis Yisrael. That God is with me. And God is with us in the month of El. I want to wish everyone that there's so many other psukim that we learn about this week's parsha. We learn about the city of refuge. We learn about the prophecies that's going to be returned to Klal Yisrael. And the Rebbe spoke when he spoke in 1980 about this idea. The Rebbe says he's talking to us now. It's not a prophecy about 2,500 years ago about the second temple. The prophecy Chagai is talking is now. It's Rosh Chodesh Elul, today, the year 5,784. Get up on the mountain. Step up on your mountain and say, I'm a free person. Say, I'm building my Beis Hamikdash. I can't just continue to live on like this. How could I even say that now is not the time to build my Beis Hamikdash? Now is the time to build my Beis Hamikdash. The Rebbe says that Itchamani Beis Yisrael, God is with us. You have the strength, the Montevel. Go out there, go to your mountain, climb up, go into the city of refuge, go to the places, can learn, add in Torah study, add in tzedakah. Remember the idea, the rules of Elul, that when we want to return, we have to remember where we lost God. We spoke about this in the years past, that it says the prophet, when it says the Torah says we kashti mishama says Shem lekecha, that you have to find God there. Where's there? The same place you lost God. You can't find God somewhere else. If you lose him, if you lost something one room, you can't find it in the next room. It doesn't work like that. Walk backwards. Know where you come from. Know where you went. Know where your vulnerabilities are, and through that, through the vodavel. Not just you don't have to worry about the success. It's the avoid of it. The very fact that you climb up in the mountain, the very fact you start gathering the raw materials for your temple. And we say every day, a few times a day, in the morning, in the afternoon, we say that Hashem, that's what you want. You want to be shifty Beis Hashem. I want to live in the house of the Lord. No longer is my Beis Hamikdash going to be destroyed. I want to wish everyone a successful month of Elul, and we should have all the connections this week has and today has with the building of the Beis Hamikdash and with the return of all the Klal Yisrael should have the right to be free people, to be no goyim, no nation should have the right to tell any Jew, whether physically or spiritually, what a Jew should do and where a Jew should be, and we should be free, and we should have our Beis Hamikdash, not just our own personal Beis Hamikdash, but the third Beis Hamikdash standing in Yerushalayim HaKodesh. And everyone together. We don't have Matthew here even to tell us what's going to happen in University Minyan this Shabbos. I'm assuming that there's going to be a minyan, and if not, of course, everyone's going to be in Yerushalayim. There's plenty of space in Tzemach Tzedek for everyone. So good Shabbos, everyone, and a good Chodesh.
Shabbos Kodesh.
Don't forget the king is in the field. Go out and meet him. Take care. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Take care.